Segment 2, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Check us out on the web at www.ntnm.org. Community policing, we're real big on that. Sonny Hirsch, as chairman of the District Advisory Committee, runs that site. caps24.org if you're in Rogers Park, West Rogers Park, or a little bit of Edgewater. And speaking of community policing, my next guest actually, well, I don't think he's in criminal court right now, but he is a judge, a sitting judge. Somebody you might actually remember from WMAQ or WBBM, a fellow journalist at one point in time and now a judge. And I think you were just, well, I'll let him tell us, but I think he was just appointed to a new position. So we're talking about Judge Alfred Swanson. How you doing?
I'm fine, Avi. Nice to be back.
First of all, thank you. I'm glad you were able to make it. And you were appointed to a new position?
To a new position in the middle of November after not being successful in the primary election in March of last year. The Supreme Court appointed me to a new vacancy, which is very good. So I'm still sitting, as I have for more than the last 2 years now, in the mortgage foreclosure section of the Chancery Division of the Circuit Court.
So unfortunately, there's a lot of action these days when it comes to foreclosures.
There is in Cook County right now, at a state level a little bit for the last few months, but there are residential and commercial foreclosures, ballpark around 79,000 pending in Cook County.
Wow. That's a lot.
That is a lot. And the reason when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, about coming on this program is effective May 1st, the Supreme Court has put into effect a couple of new rules.
You're talking about the Illinois
Supreme Court?
Okay.
Some new rules that deal with mortgage foreclosures that I think are of interest to a lot of people, and that's why I suggested it might be a good time to come back on the program. The Supreme Court, a little more than a year ago, appointed a special committee to look at the foreclosure process and the procedures with dealing with mortgage foreclosures and how they're handled. And this committee made some recommendations to the Supreme Court that the Supreme Court has adopted, and they went into effect on the 1st of May. They're Supreme Court Rules 113 and 114. Also 99...
By the way, just to caution you, we're on this camera? Okay, so we just got the one camera now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I saw guests look over in the corner.
No,
that's what I was
fine.
doing.
You were fine, but we just had a mishap. So now we're over here.
Okay, that's fine. Rule 99.1 deals with counties or circuits that want to establish foreclosure procedures. Don't need to go into that. But Rules 113 and 114 are the key rules, and some highlights of those. But I think before I go into those details, I think the important thing is that this makes things easier for the homeowners, for the borrowers. Easier is maybe not the right word, but it helps protect some of their rights in doing things. One of the things we have a lot of motion practice and a lot of fights over, does the lender, the plaintiff in the case, really have standing to be able to bring the lawsuit? Well, as of May 1st, a new lawsuit is filed, foreclosure lawsuit. The plaintiff needs to have, always had to have a copy of the note and mortgage on its complaint. Now that note has to be complete with all the endorsements, all the changes of hands and everything as it exists at that time. That will eliminate a lot of the motion practice and a lot of the fighting over standing. That's what our feeling is. The Rule 113 also has put into effect some new requirements on the affidavits to prove up the amount owed and the damages, because there's a form affidavit that goes with it, but it has to be much more specific, and increased notice requirements as well for default motions. A lot of times judgments of foreclosure are entered by default where the homeowner, for example, or the borrower doesn't come in and contest the lawsuit. Now there are increased notice requirements that have to be given in Rule 113. And notice of when a default order has been entered has to go to everybody, not just those who have appeared, but everybody who is listed as an initial defendant, to let them know of that. So there's more notice requirements there. And that is a good thing for helping people protect their interests. Illinois I'm going to digress a little bit, is one of many states where there's a judicial foreclosure process. In some states, it's all done on a title. It's done very quickly. You can do a foreclosure in a matter of a very few weeks. In Illinois, the foreclosure process, the average time is, I think, about 500 or 600 days.
Wow.
Because of the procedures that go through in terms of giving notice, and it's a judicial process here. Rule 114 has a very important component, and it does away with what is called dual tracking, and that's where a homeowner, for example, and we'll talk in the residential context, says, well, I'm working on the bank with trying to work out a modification, trying to work out some other loss mitigation efforts, and now why am I in court? They're moving to pursue on the foreclosure, so it's going on two prongs like this. Not anymore under Rule 14 as of May 1st, because when you're moving for a judgment of foreclosure, now at this point, one of the affidavits the lender has to produce before they can get a judgment of foreclosure and sale is all of the loss mitigation, modification opportunities that are there for the borrower and what has transpired to make those available. So it can eliminate that dual tracking of moving for foreclosure at the same time the borrower thinks he's working on some kind of resolution of the case. That's coming to an end.
Wow.
So these are some positive things for borrowers and to streamline the process. But as I said, with 79,000 cases, residential and commercial, pending in Cook County, you can imagine we've got a pretty heavy caseload.
Yeah.
And some of these changes will help eliminate some of the motion practice so we can get cases heard more quickly. Both the borrower's motions heard more quickly and the lender's motions heard more quickly, and to be able to devote a little bit more time and effort in doing that and bringing things to a good, fair hearing.
Wow, it really is 500 to 600 days. I mean, there's a lot more you said too. Thank God I've never had been in a foreclosure situation, and the mortgage is paid for over here. But you know, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And 79,000 people. Wow, that's going to affect an awful lot of people.
79,000 cases pending in Cook County right about. And that's stayed level for a couple of months. We keep hearing it's going to go up at some point. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be nice if the economy actually started moving, and that really hasn't happened much. The real estate market seems to be going up a little tiny bit in some neighborhoods.
That's what I read.
You know, well, same here. I just read it. You know, I check out the newspapers, and they tell me prices have gone up. I haven't gone to, like, if you were to type in your address of where you live on the web, you'll get estimates for what your house is worth.
You can on the right website. I've never gone to any of those, but I know they exist.
Actually, I have, because when in 2007, before the real estate bubble burst, I know there's 5 houses on the spot that are virtually identical, except maybe one has a garage or another one might have a driveway. So basically, I'd be happy if I got 2/3 of what that person got for selling the exact same house right now. Mm-hmm. And that's an improvement over what was.
Yeah. I think home prices in Cook County over that period of time that you mentioned dropped to by 30, 40%.
In this case, it was actually a little over. I mean, basically, this house at one time maybe was $360, and then there's a nicer house around the corner that they couldn't give away for $199. So, you know.
And the thing about foreclosures, and let's talk about just in the residential context.
Sure.
It does not matter where in Cook County the home is located or the business is located, but let's talk residential. Economic sense of the neighborhood makes no difference. From lower income to upper income parts of the city, suburbs, it's the same thing. The foreclosure issue is over the whole spectrum of Cook County.
So it's the same law for everybody.
It is. It is the same law for everyone. It is exactly that same law.
Yeah, 1 minute warning.
Okay. So we don't have to do a timeout for a commercial because that's 2 minutes in the NFL. No, and that's I think these Supreme Court rules are going to be good for the process and for the system in making sure that everyone has a good, fair hearing. and it will give us as judges a little bit more time, to the ability to devote some more time to the cases. And that's a very positive thing. And I'm very happy to be part of the section, and very happy that the Supreme Court has taken these steps.
No, I'm glad too. And I tell you, and especially in light of the fact that all these, I'll just tell you real quick, at the community policing meetings, when a house does get foreclosed on, when it was a neighborhood bank that would be foreclosed on, they're going to fix things up and care for the neighbors. Now that you just have a few mega banks that run things, the next door neighbors aren't getting such good results when it comes to getting things fixed up.
That I can't speak to, because that's separate apart from what we deal with in court.
I'd mention that because we're going to get into that with community policing in a future show. I want to thank you very much, Judge Alfred Swanson. I want to wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you, Avi.
Thank you for educating us. You are welcome to come back on in the near future. There's more to educate us about. Thank you. I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, everybody. Bye-bye.